when you have experienced 99% of the time when you do things, it hasn't worked, which is why maybe you have been getting worse and worse. You have that 1% part of you that, okay, 1% of the time things go right. So you start to not trust your own instincts anymore, right? And even if someone is offering you a solution, a proven solution that has worked with so many people around the world with no downside to it, no risk, you may not even be able to trust your own judgment on, should I do this thing? How's it going, guys? Miguel here from CFS Recovery. In this video, I'm gonna be talking about analysis, paralysis, and decision-making when it comes to CFS. Now, I also have a resource that breaks this down and really simplifies this. It's called a freedom framework. It shows you what an ideal day of recovery looks like. It shows you how to make decisions when you're on this journey, and it's gonna keep it very simple so you have some kind of structure or game plan throughout your day. So it's called a freedom framework. I'm gonna leave the link down below. Let's get into the video. Now, myself going through this journey, I know what it's like to have 100 different options that you're researching, different treatment plans, different supplements, different, so-called promises that people say, hey, if you do A, you're gonna recover, right? If you do B, you're gonna recover. If you do C, you're gonna recover. So there's all these different avenues that you can take to get to recovery, but the trick is which avenue is right for you. Now, I can tell you what I tried, right? And everybody's different. Some things that work for me may not work for you, but overall, I'm here to present you information on what's worked for myself and what's working for so many other people around the world who are interacting with our content inside of our programs. And I'm going to show you exactly the way to go about figuring out how that decision-making process looks like. So when it comes to analysis paralysis, I get it. Especially when you're in a flare-up and you're absolutely desperate, you'll grab anything, right? It's almost like you're drowning. Put this into an analogy. It's almost like someone threw you in the water, you're drowning, you're reaching for anything that you could grab on to kind of keep you afloat, right? Whether it's a supplement, whether it's an IV treatment, whether it's seeing a specialist or a naturopath or some kind of person or specialist to keep you afloat. Now, you may not be getting better, you may actually be getting worse over time, but you continue paying into this kind of treatment plan because you don't know what else to do. And at least you're kind of staying afloat, whereas if you didn't do this, you're afraid that you might sink, right? So you feel like you need something to support you because you can't quite swim in the water on your own yet. I get it. Now, a lot of times as well, when it comes to decision making, we don't trust our own judgment because everything we've tried up to this point has not worked, right? That's why you're watching this video right now, because you're looking for solutions. What you have done in the past has not led you to recovery. Now, if you're somebody who's watching this right now and you're making great progress and you're making great momentum and things are looking better and better month over month, or every 3 or 6 months you are noticing massive changes in your life, then by all means continue watching these videos and keep on implementing them. But for the people who are just new to this channel or have been following my channel for a while but they don't seem to be making any progress, or they're actually going backwards a little bit, one of the reasons may be because you have information overload, and then it's putting you in an analysis paralysis state. Now, a lot of the times we start to think in black and white. We do something and it's either gonna move us forward or move us backwards, right? And it's very polarized, it's very extreme. It's almost like if you stand up and walk a little bit too fast to the mailbox, or stand up 1 minute longer in the shower, you're gonna crash or you're gonna feel better. So it's almost like you're walking eggshells and you're terrified to make a mistake because that mistake is gonna cost you so much pain and suffering. At least that's the mindset that you may have. And so when that happens, when you don't trust your own mind, because 99% of the times in the past, what your decision was, it didn't lead to you getting better, then there's gonna be a 1% chance that the thing you do is actually the right thing to do or the optimal thing to do. So we start to lose trust with ourselves and our decision-making process. We become terrified to even make decisions. I see it all the time. I've worked with hundreds of people and I see the behind the scenes inside our program, and I was the same way. Sometimes you need an external source to just kind of approve what you're doing is the right thing to do, or to kind of lead you back on track. So the more extreme you think about this, the more you are in this yes and no, black or white, succeed or fail mindset, and nothing in between, the more indecisive you will be, because your emotions are extremely high. You're either kind of sitting there praying and hoping, almost like buying a lottery ticket and hoping this one thing you do works to move you forwards. But most of the time, it's being terrified and hoping that you don't go backwards, right? So when you have experienced 99% of the time when you do things, it hasn't worked, which is why maybe you have been getting worse and worse. You have that 1% part of you that, okay, 1% of the time things go right. So you start to not trust your own instincts anymore, right? And even if someone is offering you a solution, a proven solution that has worked with so many people around the world with no downside to it, no risk, you may not even be able to trust your own judgment on, should I do this thing? Yes or no? Now, if I do this thing, what if my decision is the wrong decision? So it may be the right resource for you. However, the way your mind is framed is any decision you make, it's 99% chance going to be the wrong decision. So a way to work around this and a way to kind of alleviate this analysis paralysis is to start thinking in gray terms. No more black and white, no more succeed or fail, none of that stuff. Because the more polarized you are, the more extreme you are in your thinking, the more you're training the part of the brain that is designed for fight and flight, that is highly emotional. The whole reason your body is in lockdown mode and in survival mode is because your brain thinks there's danger around, when really there's no danger, right? It thinks there's danger, it thinks there's a tiger outside the room, it thinks you're gonna go out there and expose yourself to all these stressors like you might have in the past, but that's not the case, or at least I would hope that's not the case for you, right? I hope there's not a tiger in your living room. Chances are there's not a tiger there, but your brain thinks there is. It will place an imaginary tiger or some kind of fear there in order to stop you from moving, and it's gonna give you symptoms to stop you from going out there. So when it comes to decision making, it's not about making the right decision or the wrong decision. It's about making a decision and making the best decision that you can, right? Let me say that again. It's not about making the right decision. It's about making the best decision. Making a decision is more useful and more effective than not making a decision at all. In fact, I've been in the place before, and I've seen it with so many people, where they're sitting down or they're lying down and they're trying to figure out, what should I do? Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I do that? Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should wait till next week. Maybe I should pull back. But what if I pull back too long and I start deconditioning? Maybe to keep momentum, I do more tomorrow and then I pull back tomorrow. So they spend all this time in their head going through all these different potential scenarios, these hypotheticals, and all that energy is spent running this simulation in their head. Now, when you are in a highly emotional state, which you are when you have CFS, that simulation in your head is going to be absolutely draining of energy, where you might as well have just done the dang thing. I had so many times where I was so terrified to take a shower. This was when I was bedridden, living with my grandparents. I was so terrified to take a shower that, I would replay it in my head. Okay, I gotta stand up. I gotta open the door. I gotta take a step, then I'm gonna grab the wall. I'm gonna turn right, and then the door handle is gonna be there, so I'm gonna lean on it. Okay, then my grandma's gonna be there, then she's gonna help me into the tub. So I would play this over and over again in my mind, trying to play it in my mind in a way that I didn't crash after, or didn't feel worse, or didn't flare up, because I was so terrified of the flare up. Not realizing that, okay, regardless of how good my mindset was, the flare up is probably gonna come. Because the more you try to run away from the symptoms, the more they will show up, because you're terrified of them. Highly emotional. More emotions you have, the more symptoms you have, right? And I'm not saying this is all in your head. I'm not saying you could just think the symptoms away, right? But what I am saying is your emotions are highly connected to the level of symptoms that you're feeling. So going back to the shower example, if I had just gone and taken a shower, yeah, I would have felt symptoms, but it would have saved me all that stress and buildup of days and days trying to figure out, okay, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna do it? How am I gonna make sure I don't crash, this and that? So by the time I even took a shower, I had already taken a shower in my mind about 500 times, right? And I was mentally exhausted. So think about it for your situation. Are you running through situations in your mind? Are you being indecisive? Another way that people fall into this trap is trying to figure out what to do during the day. Like I said earlier, in the Freedom Framework. We have a guide that's gonna show you an ideal day of recovery. We're gonna show you exactly what that looks like. There's only 3 things you're gonna do. Either you're gonna do more, you're gonna expand activity, you're gonna do the same activity or maintain the activity, or you're gonna do less. There's really only 3 things that you could do. If we break it down to its simplest form, you're gonna pull back, you're gonna maintain, or you're gonna expand. And the Freedom Framework is gonna help you figure out kind of what to do there, right? We wanna keep things very simple, and that's another thing too. When it comes to being decisive, it's a lot easier to be decisive if things are a lot more simple. This is why I didn't care much about the science when my doctor was telling me what's going on. Yes, I found it interesting, but I only needed to know enough science to make progress. I didn't need to know all the intricacies of mitochondria, Krebs cycle, cellular respiration, all that stuff. You know, I learned some of this stuff when I was becoming a personal trainer years and years ago, but did I care about this stuff? No, I just wanted to recover. So if knowing certain bits and pieces of information is going to help me recover, then absolutely, I will learn it. In fact, I teach people it in our Recovery Science Blueprint. But we make it very simple. You're not here to get a Nobel Peace Prize award. You're not here to become a master at all the ins and outs of CFS. You're here to become a master of your life. You're here to become somebody who can go outside, who can drive, who can do groceries, who can spend time with family, who can travel, who can be a contributing member to society without feeling the symptoms. You want to be able to do all of that with a high quality of life. Because there's no point in doing all of these things. Let's say you go to Disneyland with your family. Is there a point in going there if you have a headache and you're nauseous and you feel heart palpitations? No. So we need to change what's going on internally, right? We want you to have a healthy body, an anti-fragile body, an anti-fragile nervous system, so that way when you do start doing these things, you can actually enjoy the moments. It's a high quality of life you're living, not just physically, but mentally. And I have another video about this. What does it mean to be recovered? And you can watch that video right up here. I go in depth of what does recovery really mean? And I think there is a misconception about it too, is, you know, recovered means I'm doing all the things I used to be able to do before. That's very vague. Thing is, if you're doing all the things you did before, you're likely to follow the same patterns that led you to getting sick in the first place, right? But that's in that video up there. I don't want to go off track in this video. So decision making, keep things simple. Keep it very simple. If you find something that's working, stick to it. Don't make it confusing. Don't overcomplicate things. I teach a lot of stuff on this YouTube channel and in all of our resources, even inside of our programs. But when people find something that's working for them, we tell them, hey, if you found something that's working, that resonates, clearly this piece of information resonates with some part of your brain and it caused a mind shift, don't worry about the other stuff. Right? Because you may be doing this thing that's really working well, and you're going to try to introduce all these other things that is going to take attention away from the thing that is working really well. And I can't tell you what exactly that thing is for you, but I can point you in the right direction. We have many tools that increase the odds of success for you to get your life back. Now, I'm not saying this is guaranteed, you know, once you come in and start applying these principles, boom, have your life back right away. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I've never said it was going to be easy on this YouTube channel, but what I did say is it's going to be easier and increase the odds of success than if you were to not apply these principles. You're going to find out these principles at some point, right? So decision making, keep it simple. Start thinking not in black or white terms. Start thinking in gray. Just make the best decision. It doesn't have to be the right decision. Making a decision is always better than doing nothing. Action is better than inaction. And when I say action, it doesn't mean physical action. It doesn't mean you get up and go for a walk and that's better than sitting down, resting on the couch. I'm saying in your mind, make a decision on what you're gonna do. Make a decision. And this is what I cover inside of the Freedom Framework as well, because that guide is gonna help you make the decisions. How do you know when to pull back, when to maintain, and when to expand? So that document is going to help you cover that. But I hope you enjoyed this video. All in all, you know, if you follow those 3 things, if you keep things simple, and if you start focusing on making the best decision versus the right decision, you're going to move forward in recovery. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you got something out of this, make sure to comment down below. What was your biggest takeaway from this video? And if you haven't already, click the link down below to learn about how we're helping people all around the world recover from CFS. As always, you are a thriver and you are just one mind shift away from living a life with thriving health. I will see you in the next video.